It is officially October. That means it's basically Christmas, Charlie.
The world is an oyster.
We skip Halloween. We skip Thanksgiving. I know the Jewish religion just had their Happy New Year. I forget what it's called. It's called like Rosh. I don't want to mispronounce it, but Happy Jewish New Year, Charlie.
Thank you. How's it going, Aaron? Howdy, partner.
What's up, Aaron? How's the fam? Aaron says, "Hey."
He says,
"Hey, yo.
Can I get a baguette?"
Hold on, I got to back up. All right, I got to back this up. All right, Charlie. We're talking some NXT AEW. Now, how much of NXT did you catch?
I caught like 2 minutes. I just heard someone yelling something from out there. NXT happening.
So you heard that Balor was back and just freaked out and looked?
I literally happened. That was the first time I clicked over to it.
Interesting.
And he was standing there. I'm like,
AEW was AEW was solid too. NXT was a really solid show. Watching them side by side, especially with how they were formatted very similarly was interesting. So
that being said, were you able to like pick apart commentary at all? Like listen to it at all?
Yeah. I went back and forth on commentary. I picked and chose matches to listen to. So
yeah, there's a couple of things I just want to go over that I feel like will make this fun.
Yeah. I listened to commentary on. I went back and forth on the first two matches, the Riddle Cole match and the what was it, Cody
and Sammy Guevara.
Yeah. All right. Jesus, there's so much to cover. Okay. Before commentary, let's talk about the aesthetic view of these shows. Now, what I thought was interesting, Charlie, was that NXT was going for the more kind of grungy, kind of underground feel, whereas AEW was going for the big show feel.
Big production.
Yeah. So AEW was very well lit. You could see the audience very well in the background. A lot of lights, pyro, the whole shebang. Whereas NXT was its standard, darker show. It's harder to see the audience. They panned over to people a little more than normal. Steve Nash, Scott Hall, a couple other people that they panned over in the crowd and stuff like that. But it seemed like AEW was pulling out all the stops, and NXT was just trying to put on a solid show like they do week in and week out. Is that what you caught from it as well?
Yeah, I think they were definitely. I can't really comment on NXT, but I feel like AEW was a very solid show, and I felt like they came at it in a good. They came at it like you've been watching it already, and I think that was a smart way to do it.
That's true. Yeah, they didn't come out. They weren't hokey with it. They didn't have Cody Rhodes go and do like some big we are AEW. They didn't go out and do any of that. They made it seem like it was. They made a big deal on AEW at the beginning of the show of this is the first time wrestling has been on TNT since 2001. Welcome back to TNT, professional wrestling. So do you think that's a good call on them, kind of stepping in and just kind of they made it seem like they were continuing a tradition with AEW rather than starting something new. Is that a good call?
Continuing a tradition on TNT, yeah. I think it was a smart idea to include that line in there because there will be people that haven't probably watched wrestling too much since that, that maybe they tuned in tonight. I think the numbers are going to be really well tonight.
Yeah, I think numbers are going to do good for both. What I thought was interesting was usually when WWE has a big event, you see that it's like the number one trend worldwide. And I was checking trends all night on Twitter, both United States and worldwide trends, and nothing got trending from NXT or AEW. So I guess we'll see. All right. Jesus. Okay. Well, anyway, something big just happened on NXT. So, yeah. Spoiler alert, people. Tommaso Ciampa just returned and confronted Adam Cole.
Sweet.
So, nice.
That's pretty nice, yeah.
All right, so obviously there's big things going on for both companies, Charlie. AEW is a brand new company. They're coming up. They threw a bunch of money at it. You got Tony Khan and Cody Rhodes and the Bucks and all the elite guys, all the being the elite guys, I should say, plus more. And then on NXT, this is the first. This is only a couple weeks into the NXT on USA era. So both shows really have something to prove. And AEW really needed to step up, in my opinion, to seem like the bigger show to NXT. In all honesty, if AEW wants to compete with WWE as a whole, AEW, their first show needs to put NXT in the dirt. Now, I felt that it did not. I felt like they were very equal shows. And I just thought the only difference was that NXT was kind of seen as the work rate show, and AEW was trying to introduce as many characters as possible, because a lot of people are seeing these characters for the first time. A lot of people have not seen. What's the girl that won the women's championship?
Riho. She came out of nowhere at All In.
Yeah, so Riho, I was not familiar with her at all. I knew Nyla Rose, but I was not familiar with her at all. But she had a good showing, so it's what they're going to have to be doing that for at least the first month or so here, just introducing as many people as possible. So.
And while introducing these things, they've also introduced to us the win-loss records. And man, I got to be honest, that's something I'm really a fan of.
Mm-hmm.
Every single time someone went out there was an overall record and a singles record. Or with our last match, you had a trios record. That stuff like that buys in a little bit, man. It makes you care about these win-losses a little more.
So let's talk about commentary a little bit. NXT, because we're gonna have to be comparing these shows back and forth. We know who Mauro Ranallo is, and a lot of people see him as the best sports announcer in the world right now. Do you think that JR, having through all of his complaints for AEW, do you think that JR pulled it together tonight, or do you think that he is still a liability for the AEW booth?
I feel like they did it a little bit smarter tonight, and it didn't really seem like it was his show. I feel like they scaled it back, and I think they needed to.
Okay, I can see that. It made it more of a team.
Because you had Tony Schiavone moments, and you had Excalibur moments.
I think Excalibur is fantastic, and I know we haven't really talked about it all that much, but Excalibur is fantastic. I've seen him. Oh yeah, he's so good. So that was a really good call having Excalibur in there. I think I don't know. I'm not a big fan of like the mask and stuff, but that is what it is, right? So looking at the first things that we threw on the show, this is Wednesday Night Wars. The first thing that we're seeing from either group. So NXT rolls out NXT Championship match between Matt Riddle and Adam Cole. AEW had a match between Cody and Sammy Guevara. So this was a tale of NXT putting out their two big dogs, putting them out in a championship match to start. AEW did start first, or actually, sorry, NXT started first. So if people were watching side by side and ended up just flipping over to commentary with which match started first, Matt Riddle versus Adam Cole was first. And I will say both crowds were super, super hot for this. So Matt Riddle versus Adam Cole. Oh. So Adam Cole beat Matt Riddle to retain, and Cody beat Sammy Guevara. Something I liked was that commentary for AEW noted that Cody... they noted that there was a time limit, a 20-minute time limit, and that Cody has hit the time limit before in previous matches, and that with the caliber of Sammy Guevara, the storyline was, well, Sammy is up and coming, and he is really good, but he's not on the same caliber as Cody, and so if Cody loses or even draws this match, he shouldn't be considered for title contention. Did you like the way that story was played out?
Yeah, again, it makes you feel like these win-losses really matter. So I'm down with it. And a big angle after this match, which played off later in the night, I love when angles wrap full circle. They teased it like Sammy Guevara was going to shake his hand, be a good guy, and Jericho comes and beats Cody's ass.
Yep, exactly. Which is exactly what you need. You need the scummy heel champion. Out of the actual matches between both, I thought that Sammy, showed a lot of promise, but at the same time, the Adam Cole Matt Riddle match was fantastic. I mean, it was going to be hard to beat the work rate of that match, and AEW needed to put on a show, so it was more angled. What the hell was my cat doing? It was more angled towards the showiness rather than the work rate, which I think overall NXT and AEW are going to be very similar in their wrestling styles, yeah?
Oh, yeah. These guys all kind of came from the same spot for the most part.
So it's interesting. So people think that AEW is going to be more like WWE. When we talk about main roster WWE,
I think they proved tonight that it's not like that at all.
No, AEW is going to be the work rate of NXT, and well, I think it's going to be a little less of work rate as NXT, and a little less of the showiness from WWE, and so they're trying to be a happy medium of both, which is interesting. Hold on, I'll be right back, Mike. Cat.
You're good. You're good. So AEW then goes on to we have an MJF versus Brandon Cutler stuff. MJF, classic his talking shit. It was awesome. And Brandon Cutler's going to be one of those guys who's a lower tier person, but he's going to be a likable face. And I thought the match accomplished what it needed to. MJF got a win, and that moves him up in the ranks.
Yeah. I mean, once again, these win-losses, that's going to be the only bad thing is that these people because wins and losses are now mattering.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to have a lot of people winning that we think are going to win at the beginning. It's going to be a little predictable here in the beginning while they set up these names that we know. MJF is not going to lose for a little while because he needs to wins and losses in order to seem credible.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And then kind of to close out your first hour here before the Hangman and Pac match, they have like this tag team segment that spans in like 3 different segments, and I thought it was kind of crazy. So you have Chris Van Vliet, who is a fantastic interviewer, who looks like $1 million. He interviews Jay and Silent Bob, and then you have Andrew Evans and his tag partner. They come out talking crap, and then it kind of goes. Private Party is out there, and then SCU has a promo that's like in DC, kind of getting their stick, and then there's even an interview that has SCU and Lucha Brothers, and it ends in conflict. And I thought that was like what is it, 4 or 5 tag teams in that segment?
Mm-hmm.
It accomplished the job. This tag division is insane. I think they have the best tag division in all of wrestling. It's so
really
good.
I mean, if WWE's was all together, you still think it's better? AEW's is better?
If they're all together, maybe. But the reality is they're not.
That's true. So the next head-to-head that we had this Io Shirai match versus Mia Yim. Went head-to-head with this Pac versus Hangman Page. And I think majority of people would say that they'd rather see Pac versus Hangman Page. This was supposed to happen at Double or Nothing, ended up not working out. And Pac ended up getting the win. Do you agree with the decision to have Pac go over here, especially since it's so big for this first time they're meeting?
Yeah, I think if you had him beat Kenny Omega, you got to have him beat Hangman. And he did it in his bastard fashion, which is his whole gimmick.
I liked how JR was like calling him a bastard, and
they're like, "Are we sure we can say that?" TV.
They were like, "Why do you keep calling him a bastard?" And then Excalibur was like, "It's in his Twitter handle. All right, we can call him that."
That being said, he's 2-0, and his wins are Kenny Omega and Hangman. So, I mean, he's got to be next in line for a title shot then. Theoretically, if that's how they do it.
Yeah, I agree. Then over on NXT, we had Johnny Gargano defeating Shane Thorne. It was a solid match. Nothing super crazy. It was reintroducing Shane Thorne, trying to get him over as a single star. But this, to me, was NXT saying, all right, if we're going head-to-head against AEW and people happen to just be intrigued by this and they haven't been watching, we need to at least let them know who Johnny Gargano is and see how over he is with the crowd.
Yeah. I felt it was weird to have Shane be that guy because Shane was just doing all the stuff with beating the new people from that latest tournament. I thought it was really good. But, if he goes out and has a good match against Johnny and loses, it doesn't hurt him. But I thought they were really building Shane up as a big heel.
Yeah. Something I thought was very interesting is that both shows used a lot of picture-in-picture tonight. It was obvious that was a strategy for both companies to try to keep people on the channel. They didn't want people switching over channels. And I mean, even for me, I have Sling TV is how I watch my TV. And I get USA and TNT. And it's a very limited show selection or channel selection. So the fact that these are two of the biggest networks out right now, the fact that these two shows are on them is very, very cool. I'd say they're both kind of listed as like the B, you know, they're not like the CBSs or the NBCs and stuff like that, but they're close. USA and TNT are just a notch below. So then we have what I mean, this is just me speculating. I think it was probably WWE's call because the AEW show rundown was leaked earlier today, a couple hours ago.
Really?
And so everyone kind of knew what was going to happen on this show going into it. And so I think WWE made this call, and they intentionally put Shayna Baszler versus Candice LeRae in their women's championship match up against the AEW women's championship match. So once again, I think this is WWE flexing their muscle a little bit, saying, Shayna Baszler is a bit of a draw, and we want to get some eyes on Candice LeRae. Meanwhile, AEW has the, David versus Goliath in Rio versus Nyla Rose match. What did you think of the match as a whole?
I wasn't feeling it. There was moments, of course. And they were big moments, but man.
I didn't agree with the fact that Nyla Rose just basically didn't sell at all and then lost. Like, you can't play it off like you're unaffected by all of these things that Rio's doing, and then that she's doing, and then randomly lose. I don't know. The finish felt sudden. The issue with a lot of these people on AEW, to me, as someone that hasn't really been watching regularly, is that I don't know what their finishers are yet. Mm-hmm. And so it is up to it's up to commentary to put that out there of like, make it a big deal when someone hits their finisher. And the commentary for AEW, Riho had like just hit a really beautiful move right before, and they freaked out. And then they kind of went silent for a second, and then she hit her finisher, and commentary was like, oh, Riho wins. And it's like, okay, I need you guys to go nuts when she hits her finisher. That should have been a big moment on commentary, and in my opinion, they blew it.
Did you see how small the AEW women's belt is?
Yeah, very odd, isn't it?
It's very oddly small. I saw that on Twitter.
SMOL. Small.
And then that kind of brings us to our main event, right? And head-to-head was
not yet.
Well, there was one more NXT.
We had Pete Dunne versus Danny Birch in the middle. Pete Dunne got the win. Really good match, hard hitting as you expect out of those two.
The story is the aftermath, right?
Yes, exactly. So the aftermath was that Damian Priest came back and attacked Pete Dunne.
And I'm down with that. That's Priest's first real match. He had one against Keith, but
yep.
Pete Dunne's a big prospect.
And a cool little aesthetic is he's keeping the bow and arrow shot. And what he does was he laid the beat down on Pete Dunne, turned towards the board, the ramp that was currently dark, shot it at it, and then it popped up.
Yeah, and the flames and all that. Yeah. What a guy.
I like that. We skipped over
it.
Yeah, we totally kind of skipped over. I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but what do you think about Finn Balor not only coming back and challenging Adam Cole to a match, basically, but
joining NXT?
But saying that he's officially, I can't remember exactly what his wording was, but he said, as of right now, I'm on NXT. So for the foreseeable future, Finn Balor is back in NXT. Is that a good call by WWE? Do you think it's good for Finn Balor?
I think it's good for him. He's been gone for a little bit. He was attacked by the Fiend, lost the Fiend. And you know what? Go back to NXT where they could really use you.
Until the Fiend follows him.
Imagine. So there's a lot of talent back in NXT now. You got Killian Dane, Fashion Police, Finn Balor.
All right. This led us to our main event. Let's start with NXT. I loved the call to put Street Profits with that cool-ass entrance. They brought out Wale which, let's be honest, NXT brought Wale and AEW brought Jay and Silent Bob. One of them is a much bigger star. And just the audience was crazy. They handed them the cups. It felt big in a small venue, which I thought was very, very cool. And the match was really, really good. It ended how we expected it. But honestly, I think NXT was just trying to put forward like a solid show. It's kind of like all right, AEW, your move. That's how this week felt. NXT was gauging what AEW was going to do, and who knows, maybe next week it will be a lot different. What do you think of the decision to have Undisputed Era and Street Profits on last?
I like it. Like we were talking about with their tag. WWE's going to have to step up all their tag divisions. They know that. And those are two brilliant teams.
So over on AEW, we saw Chris Jericho in a backstage segment with Santana and Ortiz beforehand, which I thought was good because everyone knows who Chris Jericho is that's watching this show. Most people know who Kenny Omega and the Bucks are, but a lot of people don't know Santana and Ortiz. So having a quick 20-second segment where Chris Jericho was like, hey guys, I've handpicked you. This is the biggest night in wrestling history, as he coined it. And we can go out there and we can get the win and we can make a statement. And just Chris Jericho, the veteran, the current champion, giving them his blessing, so to speak, and really trusting them, I think sets these two guys up for a nice run.
Absolutely. It was our first trios match of the night and of TV. Yep. So Chris Jericho's 1-0 in trios.
Yep.
No, I think it's so fun for the tag division to end like this on both shows.
And I got to say, from what I've seen more, I mean, isn't Matt Jackson generally more of the workhorse and Nick is usually the spottier kind of guy?
For the most part, Nick's just, he's younger and he's kind of insane.
Well, Nick Jackson was great.
Yeah, if you try and watch it too close, you'll see Nick is a lot better than him, but Matt's still great. But Nick is special.
And that's what we saw a little bit of tonight. Was Matt was the solid worker. He was in there for a while, hit a spear, hit a nice double suplex, but then Nick came in, and he really was on a different level. And what I thought was interesting was that Kenny Omega to me didn't really stick out all that much. I thought that the Young Bucks were the stars.
Yeah, and Kenny was kind of just there doing his little thing, and then Moxley comes out.
Yeah,
I think the big spot from there is Moxley puts him through the glass table.
Yeah, so there was a little coffee table off on the side. What was that, like an interview area? I don't even know what it was.
They were saying it was VIP.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So they get in a brawl. Moxley brings him over and hits him with a brain buster through the glass. Moxley really helped him out there. Moxley took like 95% of the glass. So it just looked like Moxley. Let's be honest, the guy's a lunatic, and no pun intended. And I just think he likes pain. I think he requested to have glass go into his back.
Oh, definitely. They were like, what's something big we can do here? And he's like, let me do the glass.
Yeah, they're like, really, dude? Glass? You know what? Never mind. Screw it. Go ahead. And then, so Kenny Omega is taken out, and Chris Jericho ends up getting the dub. And then to make, bad things worse, we see, not Jack Swagger, Jake Hager. We see Jake Hager make his return to wrestling. Listen, I've always kind of been a Jake Hager guy. He's got a good look. I think he's always done the best with what he's been given. I hope that the audience gets rid of the We the People chant, because I'm guessing he's going to try to get rid of that. And I like his new shtick, the undefeated MMA fighter, Jake Hager.
He's got an MMA fight this month on pay-per-view.
So that's the thing, Charlie. That's his shtick, is that he's an undefeated MMA fighter. What if he loses?
I think he'll win. This guy's kind of a freak.
He is pretty good.
You know what though? I've noticed he's been one of those guys. He didn't need to gain anyone's respect. But he's gained like a lot of love and a lot of respect since he left WWE. And he went to Lucha Underground, and he's been doing the indie circuit, and then he went to Bellator. I saw.
Well, look at it this way. You see a lot of these people that will leave pro wrestling and try to do the MMA thing. Not like a ton, but a pretty fair share that are like, yeah, well, I'm going to go do real fights. I'm going to, step up and do real fights. And he was kind of the only one that I can remember that when he left wrestling, he didn't do little side appearances. He didn't do interviews. He didn't do shoot interviews. He didn't do anything really dealing with wrestling. And if any rumors came around with him being in wrestling, he shot it down real quick and said, I am 100% committed to MMA until further notice. And it got to the point where people just got sick of asking him, and he ended up winning his fight convincingly. It was a good fight. We watched that together, right? I think
so. He won them both. He in like 2 years.
I'd say we watched his debut, is what I should say.
He's won them both in 2 minutes, and they're both with that arm triangle choke.
Yeah. So I mean, let's be honest.
Dude's
he's a 2-time college national champion. So
I think he'll be a good heel for him.
Yeah, I think he's going to be good. The only bad thing is I think he thought that they were off air at one point, and he broke character and started smiling while the camera was still on him. They might yell at him a little bit for that, but
they're probably hey man,
it is what it is. All right, Charlie, grades. What are you giving AEW for their debut show?
I'm going to give him an A. I felt like part of it is that it's so new and been anticipating it, but it was fun, man. It was very refreshing, and it was different from WWE. That was something they had to do. They had to make it different.
I agree. And what I thought was interesting, because I have 2 monitors here. I was literally watching both shows at the same exact time, and whatever interested me, I ended up putting on the sound for. And I noticed that for the most part, it was AEW. But during a lot of the matches, I was flipping over to NXT. So from once again, from what I saw on both shows, it looked like the work was a little better. I think that the women in AEW, I think they need Britt Baker.
Oh yeah, they're behind the curve with the women's
because she's so good. And the general complaint that I've seen from a lot of people about AEW is that they do not have a lot of people of color. They are going to pride themselves on being diverse, but it's a lot of white guys. So we'll see what happens there. I have to believe that they have some people in mind that they want, but it's a lot of white guys, and then here comes Jake Hager, another white guy. I mean, it's tough, but I think the women's division AEW needs Britt Baker back, and as much as people are sick of Shayna Baszler, I mean, between the 4 that we saw tonight, between Baszler and LeRae and Mia Yim and Io Shirai, NXT women are in a really good spot. So as of right now, if we're comparing the two, NXT is way ahead with women, and AEW is way ahead with tag teams. NXT has those 2 that faced today, and then what?
Literally.
So, this is very interesting. I did really like at the SCU segment backstage. Worst town we've ever been in.
Oh yeah.
And I like how we're gonna get the old Kazarian and Christopher Daniels tag team going for the title. So I'm down.
It's fun.
Yeah. But it's very interesting to me. I guess right now is just kind of a wait and see. I think good job to AEW. I think AEW felt like the bigger show as compared to NXT. But I think NXT, just knowing that they are the comparison to AEW rather than the main shows right now, I don't think AEW is going to be anywhere close to what we see out of SmackDown in a couple days.
I can't wait for that. That's going to be fun. We're going to be watching that and UCF at the same time.
Oh, it's going to be nuts. I'm ready. Anyway, guys, make sure to like and subscribe. Click that little bell so you know when we go live. I got work in the morning, Charlie. I got to go grade 200 quizzes.
Goddamn. Have fun with that.
A perfect 30 minutes. Yeah, we're out.
See ya.
Wow, bro. Come on. 30:03, 30:04, 30:05.
We haven't hit 30 yet.